Welcome to episode 25 of the Winner's Circle Real Estate Podcast and our first episode of 2023. From Smarter Training, I'm your host, Adam Horth, and it is our pleasure and privilege to have on this episode Zachary Nigro from Ray White Real Estate in Foster Tuncurry. A lot of you would know Zach was our 2022 Improver of the Year. And in this conversation, believe it or not, we're going to talk about real estate. Zach and I sat down and we discussed his decisions and paths around improvement and how he was able to achieve such great results in a shifting market. So let's get into it. So Zach, thanks very much for your time this morning and for catching up with us. How's 2023 treating you 9 days in, mate?
Thanks, Adam. 9 days in, I think it was 7 days ago to the day that myself and my partner were out fishing and happened to be a little bit of an accident. She ended up in hospital for 3 days, but she's on the mend at home now, which is good.
It was fishing off the rocks, is that right?
Yeah, we were fishing off the rocks at Foster on the break wall, and one of the rocks let go and she slipped in and cut a leg open pretty bad on some oysters.
Not the best start to the year, but hopefully, things can only get better from here. So
that's one of the things. Is that sort of the personal life and work life. I sort of only worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday last week, listing and already another property under offer. So 9 days into the first half of this year and listing on the board, and hopefully sale will come through from it as well.
Fantastic, mate. Love hearing results, especially straight out of the gates too. So you find a lot of people, there are offices that open back up that day after the first public holiday and they're back into it and they're making it happen and you see their results come through. And others, and this isn't a judgment, but you see them open like a today or even next week on the 16th, yet they're really 2 weeks behind those that really open up the gates and shot out early, because there are results early in January if you go looking for them, aren't there?
Oh, definitely. And it's setting up sort of that little week before Christmas and New Year's, we still had our doors open, we're still working. So to get the people that weren't ready to commit before the end of right at that last couple of days, and then set them up for that first week of January, obviously after that Monday public holiday, Tuesday through to now. Yeah, obviously I can already see the results, same as Grady and the team as well.
Brilliant. We've got a field challenge that we'll get to in a couple of minutes, but it's actually about January results. So we'll circle back to that, Zach. But before we get into that, I think it's relevant to talk about the end of your 2022, which saw you crowned as Improver of the Year at the Australasian Real Estate Awards. So once again, mate, congratulations to that.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. Definitely didn't come easy. There was a lot of phone calls made to the Winner's Circle and a lot of sitting down with Dan, my leader, in one-on-ones, training sessions, and just trying to, I guess, in terms of real estate, there's so much knowledge you can intake, but until you're in the field putting what you've tried to learn into practice and then, I've made that mistake, how do I move on from there? So definitely just trying to fix up those little clinks in the chain throughout the year definitely helped me feel like I had a pretty awesome year, and obviously Improver of the Year as the Australasian Awards definitely helped out with that.
A lot of our conversation we'll have later in this episode will be unpacking really those elements of your improvement and really sort of looking at them in bite-sized chunks. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking that with you, mate. I think it also should be said, I believe you also took out best photo in the magazine as well for the year. So you've just got this cracking shot of you with the arm up in the air. So I don't know if you've laid eyes on it yourself, but it's an absolute cracking shot, mate. So yes.
Yeah, I seen it in the magazine and Michelle in the office. So what we did as well, so we found all of our team photos. It's an office that was previously a house that we've obviously converted into an office now. In our kitchen, we've got a wall and it's like our office wall, and it's like the little achievements that our office has done. I guess you call it our end of quarter dinners, our anything to do with our team photos, and that get put up on the wall. So it's always a very team environment when we walk in.
And mate, that was also, that's the other award that needs mentioning as well, is the fact that the entire team led by Daniel Cross there, you guys took out the Leslie Johnston Medal for client care as well, for services and the work you did with the community throughout COVID, which was a sensational achievement for you also.
Yeah, absolutely massive effort from the whole team as well, not just from, hey, we're going to look at doing this. It was, hey, we're looking at doing this, approaching other businesses going, hey, this is something that we're thinking of doing. We will help go along with it. Can you help us we delivered it and got it out into the community to a lot of people that definitely struggled. A lot of thank yous and letters and phone calls from extended family just saying, look, thanks for helping out mum, thanks for helping out dad. These guys really, really appreciate it.
We talk a lot about with our salespeople about how much longevity is such an important measure of the success in any career, but especially in real estate. Your success really is measured by longevity. Yet I believe for an agency in itself, separate from the people within it, for that agency to achieve longevity, it has to become part of its community. It has to be a business that supports other businesses and supports members of its community beyond the transactions that are real estate.
Correct. We've just finished up. Again, it's one of those things that we always try and do a charity at the end of the year. And in our office, obviously, we're Ray White, so it's called A Little Ray of Giving. Basically, we have a Christmas tree in the office. We put out the flyers throughout in our DL letterbox drops and under door drops and Facebook and Instagram saying, hey guys, if you can spare $5, $10 to donate a small child's toy, come in, the office is open. And we then before Christmas then delivered a heap of toys to the women's shelter here in Foster Tuncurry.
Phenomenal. They're great things, mate. They're great things, and things that, for the team members like yourself and Grady and Michelle and everyone within the team, it makes you feel proud to be working for and representing a business that cares to that level. So congratulations to you all, mate. Let's jump into that field challenge I mentioned before, and it came in via the website. And for all of those listening, if you listen to the podcast regularly, you enjoy it and you wish that, geez, I'd love for them to talk about this or get into that. I'm really struggling with this. It's a 2-minute exercise. Jump on our website, which is thewinnerscircle.realestate. Find the podcast, and there's a big button right there that says Field Challenge, and it allows you to jump on and submit something that you might find yourself struggling with in your field. And our guests like Zach this morning, we can just unpack that and have a discussion. And we won't necessarily solve the problem, but like you get from the hotline, Zach, isn't it? You get a perspective, you get a different point of view, and you get to have that discussion to open up new ideas for tackling that problem.
Definitely. One of the things about tackling problems, like obviously the field challenge that we'll go through soon, is if I've experienced something that I'm struggling with, it's in our office, we try and call the winner's circle, try and, as you said, get a different perspective, then bring it up in our sales meetings with Dan and Grady. Grady, another salesperson that's in the field, Dan that's sort of in the field, but again, sort of managing the business more, getting their perspectives on it to say, okay, how can we problem solve to move forward so we can overcome or at least try and reduce the risk of whatever it is that we're trying to tackle.
Yeah, perfect. And that's at the end of the day, is if we can tackle those problems, if we can find solutions, the people who are going to benefit from that are our clients. And that's what we're here for. We're going to help people sell their homes for the best price. We're going to match buyers up with the right property for them. So us facing and reaching out and getting some help on our problems, it's not only going to help us, but it's going to have that butterfly effect in helping some important people in our lives, our clients. So we had this one come in, and you do have the option of shooting it in anonymously, and this one did come in anonymously. But the question was, and it only came in a few days ago, so obviously something that this person has faced in their first few days back in the office for January. But the question is, how do you maintain enthusiasm and momentum early in the year when the leads you were working on, and it says here that they were going to list their home in January, decide not to go to the market? It goes on to say you were planning on 4 or 5 listings in January that now haven't come off. What do you do next? So obviously we've got a salesperson there who in November, December, a lot of their people in their personal marketplace, their prospect, they're saying, look, come January, we're putting the house on the market. They've got excited, picked up the phone in those first few days of January, and everyone, once again, not uncommon, has pushed out their timeframes, and the plans that the salesperson had for January very early aren't going to come to fruition. So, well, Zach, let's start by framing it that way. Has that happened to you? Have you found that yourself, people changing their plans?
Oh, of course. It doesn't necessarily have to happen in January. It could happen in April. Someone says, yeah, Zach, we're definitely moving to Perth in April. And I go, fantastic. We'll stay in touch. And all of a sudden April comes around and plans have changed. To maintain enthusiasm and momentum leading into this January period, 9 days in, I think for me, the listing, getting excited about an under offer, the market has changed quite considerable here in Foster Tuncurry. I think the last time that we looked at was the end of December, and the market had dropped about 13% across the board.
And when you say 13%, can I just ask there in terms of transaction numbers or in terms of prices?
Prices have come down about 13%. Again, it's people change their plans, and I hear Dan in the back of my head saying, just talk to more people, find people that are selling now. So the way that you deal with it, I guess, is try and go back through your personal marketplace. I have a little black journal that I take out when I door knock. I've actually got 3 of them now, and I flip back through that to find people that I'd spoken to from 2019, 20, 21, 22, find people that said that they were looking to move in 5 or 6 months and just check in on those type of people as well. Or again, probably the biggest thing, I know it's, again, 9 days and we've had a week into January, hit the doors. I think knocking on a door and putting your face to someone else's face so they can see you instead of, again, Dan in the back of my head, don't hide behind technology. Just getting back out in the community and door knocking to try and find those people that maybe on the fence, and all of a sudden you're there at the right time and they say, yeah, look, we are thinking of doing something.
And that's the thing. And when we talk about plans changing, Zach, they change both ways as well. Those people who you might have knocked on their doors 6, 8, 9, 12 months ago, they said, no, we're here forever. Their plans can change as well. And all of a sudden 2023 is the year that they've decided, and they might have had these conversations with the family over Christmas, over the New Year's. You know what? It is time to move on from this property. And as you say, knocking on some doors is a great way to get yourself out there, get your energy and enthusiasm levels up. And speaking to those newer, fresher people, or having that fresh approach with those people in your area, most definitely.
And one of the things as well, their plans might change from January, but you stay in touch and all of a sudden they list in March.
Yes.
They may be still selling, but it may not be today or tomorrow. It may be in a month or 3 or 4 months' time. So, yeah, if they do have it in the back of their mind, it's one of those things that I can't remember where I read it, but until someone is mentally ready to leave the home that they're in, you can get them to sign the agreement. But if they're not mentally prepared and ready to leave the home that they've lived in for X amount of years, you can't move them any faster than where they're already at.
That's right. I think you're referring there back to when you do your cementing of the sale, and we talk about that in the current version of Winning Ways, is someone might be emotionally ready to sign the listing agreement, but not emotionally ready to sell.
Correct.
It's a really good way of framing that, Zach, because you can have people like, yeah, it is time to move on. January, things are going to be better. And then January comes and things are really the same. And so like, you know what, actually put the brakes on. We're not where we thought we'd be mentally, emotionally, wherever.
Yeah.
The other half of this question, though, is where it says, you were planning on 4 or 5 listings in January that haven't now come off. What do you do next? I think the thing that needs a lot of credit there is the fact that they were planning on it. That question implies that they've sat down, they've set a plan for their January, and part of that plan is 4 or 5 listings coming from their personal marketplace. And I think that's the one thing with any plans that you run. You've got to set the plan, run the plan, but then you've got to make sure that the plan is actually producing the results. And in this person's case, because it's obviously not, the time is then, okay, well, let's pivot. Let's rework the plan. What can we replace? How do we find these additional 4 or 5 listings from other sources? What other avenues do I have to replace, or at least make up in 2, 3, 4 extra listings, maybe not the full 5, but how do we compensate for those listings that haven't come off? So there's always new plans you can set, new actions you can take.
Yeah, I don't want to say roadblocks, but there are things that pop up even with my prospecting and the people that I thought that I had, again, coming up in January that I've spoken to, and they said, no, look, we're going to push them out. So it's trying to pivot away from, again, my personal marketplace and trying to make phone calls to delivering our just listed or our just solds to give a result to someone. Pivoting, I think, is that crucial point where if you're 9 days in, you thought you would have 2 listings by now and you had a plan for 2 listings, trying to then go, okay, where do I move from here so I know that I can try and make up for it in the back end of this month.
One of the consistent things, Zach, you probably do it yourself, but all high performers, they panic early. They know where they're supposed to be at any given point during the month. And as you say, if 9 days in, which is almost a third of the way to the month, if you're not a third of the way to your results, that's when you start panicking. You can't start panicking on the 20th or the 25th and go, geez, I really got to now it's time to pull 8 listings out of my backside in these last 5 days. The time has come and gone. So the 9th today, or when this comes out, which is this Thursday, if you're not on target, now's the time to start panicking, start focusing and start looking and finding the results that you're chasing for the month.
One of the things I think as well is if you had a listing appointment that you went and sat to from a couple of months ago, and you're still trying to stay in touch, even just popping out there and door knocking people as well that you've already sat down with. I know that I do that quite a bit. If I've struggled to stay in contact with them, or I've called them, left a message, they haven't come back to me, I like going out there and dropping something off, door knocking them, saying, hey, whereabouts are you guys at in terms of your movements on looking to put the property on the market? I know that I've had a bit of success with that from past listing presentations that I didn't get on the day. And then obviously now that they're coming back through, like I've got a spreadsheet of my pipeline that comes up, and I've got like January, February, March, June, like I've got sort of little timelines on where people, when I've sat with them or I've spoken to them, when they're considering to do something. So I think, again, just trying to be prepared and knowing when to pivot and move to try and find that next result.
You find the drop-in, though, it's it's just part of simple, human psychology and our emotion that we were talking about there. We always feel a stronger connection, and we can get a reminder of memories and feelings when we're back face to face with somebody in the presence of them. It's like an old friend from school or a family member you haven't seen for years. You like them, you get along with them, but then when you physically spend time with them, you're like, my God, like, why isn't this person in my life more? And Zach, I know that it might be swinging the pendulum too far the other way, but those lounge rooms that you've been in that you didn't convert to a listings, but you guys got along well, you had good conversations, you spoke about the local footy team, or you spoke about, their kids' holidays, whatever it was, you connected with these people. You lobbing back up on their doorstep, knocking on the door, and then being in your presence again, it reminds them of all those things, because they've got opinion about Ray White and what you do in your strategy and everything there, but that reminds them of Zach. And it reminds them, yes, that Zach is the guy, when the time comes, that we want to do business with.
That's it. And you mentioned it earlier on as well. It's longevity. Longevity is building relationships. So you can't door knock someone and then 6 months later stay in touch with them over the phone and for them to remember you. So I think it's again, just trying to be present. Hey, this is my face. This is who I am. Remember the conversation that we had sitting around the table. It's trying to continue and maintain that relationship that I guess helps when you are, again, 9 days in and you don't feel like you've got the results to where you are. Try and think back on, who did I sit with, or where did I go a couple of months ago, so I can try and get some results now.
No, fantastic. Well, mate, I think we've had a good crack at addressing that field challenge for our member who wrote in there. So we'll leave it at that. Let's have a quick look at the results from December, and then let's get into a good meaty conversation with one another. So as always, let's have a look at our results from last month. And being as it was December, we'll also take a minute to have a look at our results from the full December quarter from 2022. So starting as always with our top salespeople in terms of sides, our number 3 position in December goes to David Bishop from Page & Pierce in Townsville, led by Todd Pierce, with 17 unconditional sides. Our number 2 position, Dylan Ashby, 21 sides. Dylan, of course, from Hudson Bond Real Estate in Doncaster, led by Paul Kunos. Well done, Dylan. Yet our number 1 spot, our number 1 salesperson in terms of sides, December 2022, Jody Westcott, with an impressive 27 sides. Jody also works with the team at Page & Pierce up in Townsville. Jody, 27 sides. Absolutely phenomenal. Congratulations on a sensational month. We've actually also got 2 new people joining the top 20 for their first time ever in a single month. And we just want to introduce number 14 position went to Sedat Sifsi from Ray Dobson Real Estate in Shepparton, led by Peter Ralph. Sedat, congratulations, 12 unconditional sides for you for the month. And in the number 19 position, we had Tom Gilbert, also from Hudson Bond in Doncaster. Tom, well done to you, 10 unconditional sides for the month, putting you in that top 20. Well done to you both. If we now look at our salespeople in terms of their dollars for the month of December, our number 3 position goes to Trent Cameron from Wallamont Nut in Mount Martha, Victoria, led by Fergus Nutt. Trent, an impressive $153,436 for the month of December, mate. Absolutely well done. Our number 2 position, again, Jodie Westcott from Page and Pierce in Townsville. Of course, those 27 sides are going to bring the dollars with them. And Jodie, you brought in $187,087 for the month. Sensational. Yet our number 1 spot went to Jonathan Graham from Kerr Real Estate in Cobram, Victoria, led by Andrew Kerr. Jonathan, congratulations on the number 1 position with an impressive $286,362 for the month of December. Absolutely phenomenal. And we also just want to welcome 3 people to the top 20 in terms of dollars. Number 14 position, again, Tom Gilbert from Hudson Bond. Tom, welcome to that top $20, mate. John Kederian from Hudson Bond in Doncaster. John, well done to you, mate, putting you in the number 15 position. And also Dominic Arper, again, Hudson Bond in Doncaster. Dominic, Tom, and John, welcome to the 3 of you to our top 20 in terms of dollars. Fantastic. If we now move to our BDMs for the month of December, our number 3 position goes to Andreas Tripodina from Benchmark National, led by Vince Tripodina. And Andreas brought in 16 new managements in December. Fantastic. Number 2 position, all the way over from Christchurch, New Zealand, Monique Inglis. Monique, well done to you. 18 new managements for the month of December. And yet our number 1 position goes to the very familiar and the ever consistent Emily Smart. Emily, also from Hudson Bond in Doncaster, brought in an impressive 23 managements in December, giving her yet again the number 1 position. Congratulations, Emily, and congratulations to everyone in the top 10. If we move to our prospectors, there is 4 we want to mention. Firstly, our top 3. Number 3 position with 5 listings created for her team in December. Taylor Lee Bambarrow from Page and Pierce in Townsville, led of course by Todd Pierce. Taylor Lee, number 3 position, very well done. Number 2 went to Isaac Kavanagh from Caloundra City Realty, led by Ben Price in Caloundra. Isaac also contributed 5 listings for his team in December. Yet the number 1 spot and his first time in the Prospector Top 10 goes to John Wickham from Flynn & Co Real Estate in Rosebud, led by Michael Flynn. John, really well done, mate. 8 listings contributing to your team for the month of December. Absolutely fantastic. Yet we also want to welcome to the top 10. She took out the number 4 position. It's Ange Rattini from Dignam Real Estate in Bulli, New South Wales, led by Adam McMahon. Ange contributed 4 listings for her team in the month of December. Congratulations, Anne, and congratulations, everyone in our top prospectors list. And lastly, to round out the results, we just want to have a look at how our salespeople went over the entirety of the December quarter for 2022. Our number 3 position, Joshua Schweitzer, Johnson Real Estate at Ipswich, actually led by myself, Adam Horth. Joshua, congratulations, mate. 52 unconditional sides for you for the quarter, mate, giving you that number 3 position in terms of sides. Sensational work. Number 2, Jodie Westcott, Page and Pierce Townsville, led by Todd Pierce. Jodie, congratulations to you. A total of 57 unconditional sides for the entirety of the quarter. Well done. Yet our number 1 position is reserved for Scott Holland, First National King and Heath, Bairnsdale, Victoria, led by Chris Martin. Scott, an incredible 70 sides for you for the December quarter 2022. Congratulations to you, Scott. Absolutely well done. Also want to take a minute to welcome Jordan Cleland from Mario Latanzi's team in Clark Real Estate, Lutwyche, Queensland. It's actually Jordan's first time in the top 20 in terms of the quarter. And Jordan, sitting at number 13 position, brought in a total of 27 sides for the quarter. Congratulations, Jordan, and welcome to the top 20. And our last results are once again our salespeople for the quarter, yet in terms of dollars. Our number 3 position, Trent Cameron, Wallamont and Nutt in Mount Martha, Victoria. Trent brought in a total of $373,221. Congratulations, Trent. The number 2 position, Joshua Schweitzer, Johnson Real Estate, Ipswich. Joshua, a total of $378,239, giving you that number 2 spot, mate. Yet our number 1 position reserved for Jonathan Graham, once again from Kerr Real Estate in Cobram, Victoria, led by Andrew Kerr. Jonathan, an awesome $434,703 for you for the December quarter. Congratulations, Jonathan, and congratulations to everyone appearing in the top 20. It was a fantastic end to 2022, and it sets the pace for our first quarter of 2023. All right, Zach, so let's go back to the beginning. Can you talk to us about why you got into real estate, how you got into real estate, when you got into real estate, what led to you being a real estate agent?
This story goes back when I finished school back in 2015, finished year 12. Okay, what's the next thing to do? As everyone always does, I wasn't the one that I was like, I want to go to uni. I wanted to start working straight away. I've always worked. I was a paper boy when I was 12, then went into Hungry Jack's fast food, then went into Super Cheap Auto, worked there, and they couldn't put me on full time. And when I finished school, my teacher, her partner, owns one of the car yard companies back in Tamworth from where I'm from. But before that, I went out with my resume and I went to every real estate agent in Tamworth, and I went to the big car yards in Tamworth as well. I've always been that people person to try and say, hey, look, what can we do to try and help you get into those vehicles then? So I started at Holden and they put me on as a sales apprenticeship. So I'm qualified through that. It was 4 years there. But on the very first week of me starting in car sales, I had the manager of PRD Tamworth, which is a fairly big real estate in Tamworth, call me up saying, Zach, we want to put you on. And I said, oh, sorry, guys, I've actually just signed an apprenticeship at the car yard. So I did that. And then my parents bought a property through Dan back at the start of 2019.
Yes.
And I came over here for a holiday. I believe it was sometime around September, October. Had a job interview with Dan, and then I flew out, went overseas, come back, had another job interview with Dan. He said, yeah, mate, you've got the job here. So I went back home and said, see you guys, I'm moving to the coast to get into real estate.
What do you think drew you back to real estate? You sorted out as soon as you left school. It didn't happen then, but obviously you sorted out again. What was the appeal and the attraction to you about real estate?
Obviously, the lifestyle that people see, the buying the houses, the buying the cars, they rock up in suits. And for me, I love dressing up in a suit and tie. I like looking and feeling great. That was one of the attractions, but also the attraction of, okay, how hard can I work to provide myself with a lifestyle that I can buy a car, pay off a house, do those types of things to propel myself and not just have a 9 to 5, but have a career. That's one of the things that I think is real estate's really attracted me, that I can be in this job for a very long time. And if I apply it well, I know that I can have a great lifestyle, career, home, and everything that sort of, for me, it was more that career style. It wasn't just a rock up to work and do the job. And now being in 3 years in, coming into my 4th year, definitely know how different it is from car sales. Car sales, they say, here's a product, go and sell it. Real estate says, there's your shoes, mate. Go and start knocking on some doors to find your product. So for me, it took a little while to register, but now understanding how it works and definitely know that I can move forward in a career here.
So outside looking in, you not only saw real estate agents, the actual people within it, but the industry. You could see that surface level, as you say, the cars, the lifestyle, the suits, all that sort of thing. It drew you to, that's a version of success that I'm interested in. That, and yet also you saw it as a vehicle that, as you say, to buy a car, to buy a house, to set yourself up financially. It sort of brought those two worlds together. 3 years, almost 4 years in, is it what you thought it was going to be? Is it providing you those things that you hoped it would at the very start?
So the flashy cars and the house and so forth. So again, it's one of the things that I've always wanted to do. Was I bought some land and hopefully preparing to look at building on it this year. Still putting money away and looking at getting it changed. It went from a Mercedes to started off with a Subaru WRX to then I was looking at getting a Mercedes C-Class, and now I've got some friends that they like to go out on the beach. So it's okay, well, I'm now actually looking at trying to get a Prado 4x4 so I can tow my boat. And that's one of the things since I bought my boat, I bought my land, I bought my car. It's just those things that slowly, but perspective on what I thought I wanted to what the money that I'm earning took the lifestyle that I want to live has definitely changed.
It's changed. And do you think that's a product of, because that's not unusual that would happen, is that a product of you maturing as a person and redefining what success actually is? Or are you being influenced by the people in your life around you now and them providing you with a different definition of success?
Yes, I would say that on both fronts, maturing as a person, definitely. Like, again, living with my partner, I'm not attached to mum and dad as when I first moved here, living in their house. It's now we've got our own place. And definitely moving out of my hometown, I guess, as well, gave me a different perspective on what life is. The coastal lifestyle here, it's going fishing. It's definitely doing those beach days with your mates, and that different level of success in my mind has changed from, yeah, I do want the $120,000 Mercedes, and it's no, I'd actually like the $60,000 4x4, so I know that I can still do those things with the people that I love.
Let me again take you back. You're starting your career. So, as you said, November 2019. A question I had was, what are those early months like? But those early months were, hey, there's this worldwide epic pandemic called COVID that's about to. So, how did you feel embarking on a new career in a new town? And all of a sudden, the world is literally crumbling around you. How did you stay the course in those early months in real estate?
One of the things for me is I set up my workstation when we went into lockdown. When I very first started, I think it was the second day, Dan said, here's a call list, here's the phone on the desk, just try and do as many calls as you can just to understand it. Have your manual in front of you and read through the scripts as well as what you're doing. Then from there, obviously, we moved into the pandemic, and my workstation was more set up in my sunroom. So I was more outside than I was inside. So when I was living at home, I don't even remember how long the lockdown was, but I was more so out in the backyard with my laptop, my notepad, and my call list, just working through, trying to work through, okay, every half an hour, I need to be doing 5 calls starting at 9 o'clock and finishing at 5 o'clock, just to make sure I was getting those numbers in those early days. And again, the early days for me, when we were back out allowed to door knock, I think I went through 4 pairs of shoes just for the amount of kilometres and doors that I door knocked, gaining my 5x9 cards, writing details down, and then staying in touch with people that way.
And do you think now, these few years later, setting that base, and obviously that's a very deep prospecting base you've set for yourself early in your career, going out and putting in that work and that effort and putting in those hard yards. I mean, it sounds like I'm trying to lead you somewhere, but from your perspective, what did that give you, say, for the 12 months after that initial 6 months, for example?
So I was a home finder for 12 months.
Okay.
It pushed me to build a personal marketplace of pretty large at the time, and now understanding that I can add people and I can take people out. That's one of the things as well, trying to keep the good people in there. But moving me into the next 12 months was that allowed me to go for gold badge as well. Pushed me hard to try and stay in touch with everyone, continue on those doors. And that's one of the things that I think I love about how it was set up. And when I first started, again, being jammed into pandemic and only making phone calls to then going, hey, you're allowed to go out and door knock. I would much rather go out and hit the doors and door knock people than sit behind the computer and try and make phone calls to people. And that's what I guess sort of propelled me into the first 12 months of sales doing what I did.
Well, let's look at that timeline there, because that sets us up for this improver of the year that you've achieved at the end of last year. So let's just say essentially the end of 2019, you went to real estate. For all intents and purposes, 2020, the year of COVID, you were a home finder. You were prospecting doing that. Yet the market in Foster Curry, I would say from about July onwards, that last 6 months, your home finder really started gaining some momentum. You've jumped into that at the beginning of 21, and throughout that 12 months, your first 12 months in real estate has put you in a position where you were essentially almost a gold badge salesperson come the end of those initial 12 months. And a few months later, you got that pinned on your lapel. I think in about May 22, you got that gold badge.
Yep.
What I find most interesting, Zach, and probably the biggest reason I wanted to sit down with you and talk to you to give those members of the Winner Circle this perspective is in the year that was 2022, you've improved more than any other person within our organization from where your results were to what they are at the end of it. Yet at the same time, the market has done a U-turn. As you said, it's dropped 13%. That's in terms of prices. Transaction numbers are down as well. So there's been this massive change in your market and you've swum against that tide. So let's talk about that. First and foremost, was that a conscious thing? Did you go out saying, right, this is the year that I am going to improve? Or like, how did this come about? How did this journey start for you?
Dan in the office said back in, it was 2021, like when we started to see that end of that really high peak, like 13 offers on one property one day on the market. He basically just said, look, guys, you really need to start to prepare. Peter and Winning Ways is set up for a downturning market. It's set up for those really tough times. So try and practice and learn. And throughout the year, always saying, make sure you're keeping on top of your ROPs, make sure you're cementing the sale, make sure you're telling the people not what they want to hear, what they need to hear so they can sell the property. And I guess just trying to get people to understand that the market is changing and it's changing quite quickly. You need to try and be on top of it so you can help these people sell it today and not still be in October of 2021 land. We're in January of 2023, like trying to prepare again throughout all of last year was one of those things that trying to stay on top of people, trying to help them make those decisions early on before it really did change for them.
I mean, one of the things there, like we talk about this in the Smarter Management System, is two things that any leader of a business needs, the two key elements, patience and foresight. And what you're talking about there is Dan's obviously got that foresight of, and that's from his years of experience. He knows we're not getting 13 offers on a property because all of a sudden we're really good real estate agents. He understands that is a reflection of the market. He's got that foresight of knowing that it's going to come to an end. But Zach, you mentioned when we first started this conversation that you were learning things in theory, yet then it was a process of putting it into practice. So tell me about the beginning of that changing market, going out and having some of those initial tougher conversations and bigger ROPs, acceptance of offers. What was that process like for you when you were first exposed to really having to make those, like to do those things as a real estate agent?
I think it's human nature as well. It's when you've got an obstacle in front of you that you can see the finish line. You're trying to hold your client's hand and help them see the finish line as well. So those hurdles, always trying to go for those big ROPs. I know like one of the biggest ROPs that I did straight off the bat, sat down with them, told them what they needed to do. It was like a $200,000 reposition of price. And their reaction being, but Zach, that's $200,000. And trying to explain, yeah, I understand that it's $200,000, but the way that the market has moved, this is where we can sort of see your property needing to be. So we're not chasing the price down. It's putting ourselves in a position where people can see it being valuable and to try and sell it as soon as we possibly can. So again, having those harder conversations in the lounge room, your heart's always beating and you don't want to be telling them the truth as much as you really need to be telling them the truth, and helping them prepare for what you're about to say and then helping them understand and go through the steps to answer the question for themselves, am I doing the right thing here? Mm-hmm. And helping them understand that, again, heart's racing, you're sitting down in the lounge room just trying to make sure that everyone's okay.
Exactly, mate. It's funny because I think although you've experienced that from operating in a seller's market, moving to that buyer's balance market and having those conversations for the first time, those who are new in real estate, though, they too are going to have those conversations for the first time. So if I can put yourself back into the headspace of really having some of those tougher conversations, which I'm sure you're still having now with your clients, what are some of the things that you try and do to prepare for, to make sure that you have the necessary conversations with people? How do you pump yourself up or talk yourself into like, right, let's go out and do it?
For me, I don't sit in the car and listen to a pump up song. I'm trying to run through the conversation in my head. What are the objections going to be? Because they're always the same. It's, oh, Zach, I want to hold and hope. I want to give it another 2 weeks. oh, look, we're still in school holidays. There might be someone that comes up on holidays and goes through. So I'm running through those objections in my head. And then sitting down for me, on the coast here, I sit in my car and I drive down to the lake's edge and I just look at the water, look at the lake and go, okay, I'm about to have this conversation with these people. I know what their objections are going to be. Let's try and overcome it. And that's for the hardest ones for me are my out of area investors.
Yes.
So the people that aren't within an hour's drive or 40 minutes drive, they're 6 and 7 hours away. But definitely sitting in the lounge room with the people that are here, showing them facts and figures of what comparable properties are selling for within just the last couple of months to try and have those hard conversations. Yeah, I guess that's sort of just mentally going through the conversation. So when I am sitting with them face to face, they can see the facts and figures and they can see, oh, he's actually not pulling my leg. He's really trying to help me and he is telling the truth here.
For you to hear the full interview with Zach from Ray White Real Estate at Fosterton Curry, jump over to Y-Train and we've got the entire interview there for you as members of the Winners Circle, and you'll be able to find that as our new Winners Live released for January. If you're not a member of the Winners Circle and you are interested in finding out how you can tap in and get access to our training, please do reach out to us via our website, which is Smarter Training, and that's spelled Smart RE as in smart real estate, so smartertraining.com.au. Or you can give us a call on 02 8217 8500. That's 02 8217 8500. Or simply send us an email at connect@smartertraining.com.au. And as I said, for those members, you can jump over to Y-Train and listen to the rest of that interview. And we get into a lot more stuff with Zach then, especially breaking down his improvements specifically with regard to prospecting, listings, his seller coaching, and dealing with buyers.